Para munter un tigre, tienes que ser un tigre. To kill a tiger, you must be a tiger. This was Sergeant First Class Jorge Otero Barreto's motto all throughout Vietnam. What I'm about ready to tell you is the story of the largest mass surrender of the Vietnam War. You may have never heard this story. You may have never heard of Sergeant First Class Jorge Otero Barreto, but when we speak of veterans such as Sergeant Major Daniel Daly, Major Audie Murphy, Colonel Edward Rickenbacker, Lieutenant General Chesty Puller, Boatswain Mate First Class James Williams, Colonel David Hackworth, Vice Admiral John Bulkley, we need to mention Sergeant First Class Jorge Otero Barreto in that same group and that same caliber of veterans. I and others believe that Sergeant First Class Jorge Otero Barreto is overdue for the Medal of Honor for at least one particular action during the Battle of Phuoc Yen, which was the largest mass surrender of the Vietnam War. My name is Bryce Mallory. I'm an Army veteran. A few years ago, I moved to Puerto Rico for about a year and a half, and while volunteering at an American Legion post there, at the time, Jorge was the post commander, and during my time volunteering there, he told me many stories of Vietnam, as he told others. And I personally believe that from his Battle of Fuch Gin that he is overdue the Medal of Honor. I went back to Puerto Rico in 2020 to record his telling of this battle. In this recording, he has his shirt off, he drops the F-bomb, and I had not intended for that to be the final recording of this battle. I'd intended to record it again later under a different way. There's a different way that I would have liked to have seen the final recording. There's also a different way I'm sure that the Congressional National Medal of Honor Society would have rather this historical accounting be told and filmed also. But I recorded this in 2020. I went back again this year in July to see Jorge, and his mental health and his physical health are failing now. As far as I know, this is the only recording in existence of his firsthand account of this battle. There's no chance to re-record, and time is running short. If we're going to honor him with the medal that is deserving of this action, our time is running very short. Usually when somebody does an action that's worthy of the Medal of Honor, they usually receive it posthumously after they've died because their actions cost them their life. Somehow, miraculously, throughout all of his time in Vietnam, it didn't cost Jorge his life. So in this rare opportunity, we have a chance to honor him accordingly, but we don't have very much more time. There's a couple of things about Jorge's telling of this battle that I want to point out. What we are seeking is for his silver. He'd received 3 silver stars and 5 bronze stars and 5 purple hearts throughout his time in Vietnam. For the Battle of Phuoc Yen, he received a silver star, but it was for the action of assaulting a machine gun nest. On 1 May of 1968, from April 28th to 1 May of 1968 was the Battle of Phuoc Yen. Jorge's platoon was itching for a chance to fight the 90th Division, which had been very troublesome to the 101st in their area of operation in Vietnam. But him and his platoon wanted a chance to test them out. For months already, Jorge had been utilizing and perfecting what became later known as the classic Cordone maneuver, which is a maneuver where using a C shape of a river to trap the enemy within that area and sealing them off and tightening the noose around them, forcing higher casualties and a larger surrender. So Jorge was rolling with 5 M60 machine guns that day, which for a platoon-sized element is extraordinarily heavy. So he was air assaulted in. He'd set up the battlefield. He'd already called in his coordinates for the artillery strike. And then he sent up a chopper. The parts of the 90th Division were on the far side of the river. Some had already become entrenched in the town of Phuoc Yen. So he sends up a chopper, and he challenged, and with an interpreter and a bullhorn, he challenged the 90th Division to come fight his small element. They crossed the river. They ran into 5 machine guns. They went to pull back, and that's when he called in the artillery strike, thereby sealing him in to that area. He called in illumination for two consecutive nights, all throughout the night, to keep the battle consistently going for about 3 days, which put a lot more pressure on the enemy. It didn't allow them to be able to escape. And during that time, they had tried to break out. His citation lists several human wave attacks, large amounts of the enemy trying to break out just to get free. Jorge knew before this battle how he was going to plan it all out and how he was going to trap them. He also knew that once he practiced the Cordone maneuver, he was going to take a squad-size element that he was going to lead and assault through the village, which he knew they were entrenched in, and which he knew there was machine gun emplacements. So throughout Jorge's time in Vietnam, he was an outstanding non-commissioned officer in one very important way, because he was always teaching his soldiers. Jorge taught his soldiers how to assault a machine gun emplacement by example. When you look through the different citations for what has been awarded a Medal of Honor, there's multiple times you will find a citation that will cite, with complete disregard for their own life, they assaulted a machine gun nest. Jorge did this on a regular basis, doing it by example to teach his soldiers, and then having them do the same thing, so that when they ran into the situation of an embedded machine gun emplacement, they would know how to tackle the objective and save more people's lives, and also to be able to continue to accomplish the mission. There's a couple of small points I want to highlight for his telling of it. One is when he says the enemy was wet dogging, that's a euphemism for they were running like a dog with a tail between their legs, wet dogging. When he refers to dropping pee on, that's a euphemism for WP, Willie Pete, which is white phosphorus, which was a type of artillery round, which was extraordinarily nasty. When he uses this expression, it's not necessarily to say white phosphorus around, but more of a euphemism on bringing an extraordinary fight to the enemy. Let's go ahead and go to, I really got to thank Adam Jowett and Dwayne Lauder, Radical Radio Online, for bringing my podcast to their network to give me the platform to be able to reach the most amount of people with my veteran advocacy. So Adam, on the other end, he's a Royal Air Force veteran in the UK. Adam, if we can put the map up real quick, let's take a look at the street map real quick of Fuch Gin. You'll see here the street map. Now let's go to the satellite image map of Phuoc Yen. Now let's go to the battle map of Phuoc Yen. You'll be able to see where Jorge had set up his line of machine guns, where the 90th Division had crossed over into the river, into the town of Phuoc Yen, where parts of them were already embedded. And you'll be able to see where he took the squad to assault through the village. All right, Adam, if you can bring it back to me. Right on. I hope that by hearing Jorge's telling of this battle, that it moves your emotions. Because the only way that he's going to be able to receive the Medal of Honor that he deserves for this action in this battle is for everyone in the United States of America at one of our most divided times in the nation politically to all agree on at least one thing at one time. The election results are being counted in January. We'll have some new faces, we'll have some familiar faces, but there's still work to be done. I've contacted my congressman who just got reelected for my area in Indiana, Jim Baird. He's a Vietnam veteran also. And when I release this video and my site, bluefalcon420.com, I'm going to put in a request for assistance to his office to introduce a resolution on the House floor, an emergency resolution, one singular individual resolution for everybody in Congress to vote on, which will then go to the House, or which will then go to the Senate to then be signed by the President. And part of it's going to be I'm going to have a petition on this site for Congressman Jim Baird's office to show the level of support behind this movement for Jorge to get the Medal of Honor. But there's a couple of things that I'm going to need for success from the people that are watching this video. I want you to imagine your thoughts and views on Roe versus Wade. Now imagine that I'm trying to argue the opposite side of it and tell you you're wrong. You start to feel your emotions go up? Well, right now, if after viewing this video, if you know how much the nation owes this man a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid, but can partially be repaid by giving him the equivalent medal that's equivalent to his level of action of heroism during that battle. If you know that we're getting ready to lose this opportunity and this man is going to pass away in the very near future, and your emotions aren't equivalent to that, there's a problem, and it's you. And that's my personal thoughts. If you imagine your thoughts on gun control, imagine me trying to argue the opposite and tell you you're wrong. You feel how your emotions go up? If your emotions aren't as equivalent to that as they are to know that one of the greatest soldiers that the United States military has ever known is not going to be properly recognized before he dies and we have the opportunity, then there is a problem, and it is you. And that is my opinion that I'm stating. So if you want to help, and you should want to help, it's going to take your voice to be able to get this passed through Congress and the Senate expediently. Sign my petition for Congressman Jim Baird to let him know the nation's interest in Jorge getting this medal. Find out who your congressman, congresswoman, and senator is going to be this coming January. And I need you to go on to their website and don't send an email. Don't call them. I need you to fill out a specific request for assistance. And you'll put in your constituent information. And what you're requesting is when this bill goes in front of Congress and this bill goes in front of Senate, you're going to put the pressure on your congresswoman or congressman and your senator for them to vote yes on it as soon as it gets in front of them. And we need to build that momentum now because time is extraordinarily short. Please continue to tune into my podcast. You can find it at bluefalcon420.com. And again, I want to thank Adam Jowett and Dwayne Lauder at radicalradio.com for helping me to be able to reach an even larger audience with this platform. So I appreciate your time, which is our most valuable commodity in a breakneck world where there's never enough time for anything. I appreciate your time in listening to this. And this is a very historic telling. One thing that I'd like for you to know, as Jorge is telling this battle, he's allowing me to record it, but he's not telling this battle to the camera. He's telling it to me, like a father to a son. And I greatly and dearly respect this man and love him to death, not only for fighting for our freedoms, but for all of his service work to other veterans for many years afterwards. It saddens me that the entire nation could miss this opportunity to give him the proper recognition and award that he deserves for his action. But even through all the fighting in all the political arenas for the last 2 or 3 years, even up to this point in this last election, everything that we've argued and bickered about in social media and all throughout the country, there's one thing throughout the time of our nation that has not changed. I still believe in the American spirit. Please listen to Sergeant Rock, Sergeant First Class Jorge Otero Barreto, the most decorated veteran of Vietnam, and the real Rambo, as he tells about the largest mass surrender of the Vietnam War and bringing the fight to the enemy in a very real way. Thank you for listening. I'm Bryce Mallory. I'm not a Blue Falcon. You shouldn't be either.
I work with the 101st Airborne Division. And they have the best outfit from North Vietnam. They used to bring peace in the United States. Most of the unit, they were scared to fight with the 9th Division from Vietnam, North Vietnam. The United States, they didn't want to fight with them. I want to fight with those. I want to find out how good they are. So, I was in Sally. That was a place for American, and a division came down and took a place in North Vietnam. And they took care of the place. I requested permission to fight those more. I got my platoon. I do people ready because the battle of Phuoc Yen, we are going to win. Who will bring peace? We are going to bring peace and those. And then, well, it was a river that was a sea. They were on the other side of the river. So I came on the ground. I got my people, and then I spread out. I call artillery fire. I call phantom jets. I was prepared, but there was no dog. So I moved my people in this side of the river. They were on the side of the river. So I look for the Vietnamese. With the chopper, and they were Vietnamese, but the good Vietnamese. Those are the bad Vietnamese. They're from North Vietnam. And they began to call them, "You people are a bunch of bull." In Vietnamese, I was here. I want to challenge them. You people cannot fight me. If you want to fight me, I'll be in this side of the river. Come over here. Okay? I prepare. Artillery fire. On call. I prepare artillery fire. On call. And they had the 90th Division from North Vietnam that will bring the smoke in the United States Army. But they have not seen me before. They were going to see me here, to see me here in this battle. I challenge as an prepared. Okay. I cover the river, go on see, go this way, get to this side. They were on the other side. I challenge them, and then began to move. I put 5 machine guns in one corner. I gave them a place for them to come toward me. When they come toward me, I have 5 machine guns. I used to teach the American soldiers to make the machine guns to talk. They were machine guns to talk. I was the teacher of my soldiers. Right from the beginning, when I was in the SFC division, there was a Mexican officer who was crazy about me, and they were teaching me how to make the machine gun to talk. The way that machine will talk. If you ask me for that matter, I took 5 machine guns with my people. We left a hole from the other side to come toward me, to look for me. But I had the machine guns prepared. They were coming. My machine gun was here. But this machine gun, a tree was here. My machine gun cannot go over there because I got a tree here, okay? Another tree here. Another allá, another machine gun. I was machine gun and machine gun. They were by my command. When they start coming, we began to dance. Silencio. They got surprised and they went there. By machine guns. And they pulled back. When they pulled back, I called artillery fire. They came forward. I wrote P on them. They wanted to pull back. Too late. Blank check to 6, blank check to 6, blank check to 7. Fire mission. Give me the position. Artillery fire. Maybe it wasn't my way. Well, Ponce. It doesn't matter for him. You have to give him the coordinates. Blank check to 6, blank check to 6, blank check to 7, fire mission. Central mission. Bridge 6924. And you command fire. On the way, wait. From Ponce, they shot from Ponce. Wah. The enemy was caught over there, and they didn't know what to do. Escape from there, or fight for him. That was the battle of Yen. We killed 1,000 Vietnamese because they were entrenched in that place. I trapped them. I wait. And the enemy was wet dogging. I wait. We got illumination at night. When you are in combat, if you have illumination, it's equal to play baseball. with light. No, they say shit. There's expert in that. They got chicken out. So I call a chopper. I give it the order to tell the enemy, if you want to fight, I will wait for you. If you don't want to fight, I'm going to be behind you. I'm going to wait for you. What are you going to do? 1,000 enemies quit. That wasn't that bad.
I remember you telling me that
What you ask me about that battle? Not too many people were in that battle. That was my battle. How you got that name?
you told me because I listened, and I remember you telling me a certain part that when you had advanced forward, your platoon had advanced forward with you to a certain point, if I remember right, and then from there your squad went forward, and your RTO, your radio telephone operator, you ordered him not to go with you. you ordered your RTO to stay back.
You see my mind?
No.
Anything that move, I move.
It's conditioning.
Any sound, I hear it. You're my son's wife. I had 9 years, I think. I hear anything. After I left the army, I got a son. They're talking to you. If somebody come over there, I have to look because I don't have control of my mind. My mind works by itself. I'm going to be in the way until I die. I was wounded 5 times in combat. Nobody else went Vietnam 5 years. I was wounded 5 times. I ain't saying that I am the best soldier. I'm saying that I got fight for her. I was a soldier. I was a soldier proud of himself. I was a soldier proud of his people. I was a soldier, platoon sergeant, that always was teaching his soldiers.